What if the healthiest vegetables ever grown are ones you've never even heard of? Your grandparents knew something about food that got deliberately erased, and nobody's talking about what replaced them. Let's start with something that sounds completely made up, a vegetable that tastes like oysters. Yeah, you heard that right. Salsify. Ever heard of it? Probably not, but your great-grandparents definitely grew this thing. It's a long, skinny root that looks pretty unremarkable. Almost boring, actually. But cook it up, and suddenly you're eating something that tastes like seafood pulled straight from the ocean. People called it the oyster plant for exactly this reason. During World War II, victory gardens had salsify everywhere. Why? Because you could leave it in frozen ground all winter and it wouldn't go bad. Nature's refrigerator. Here's what gets interesting, though. This vegetable contains inulin fiber, which feeds the good bacteria in your gut. We call that a prebiotic now. Back then, they just knew it kept them regular. The catch is cleaning it. And oh boy, is it annoying. The roots ooze this sticky white sap that stains everything brown. Your hands, your clothes, your kitchen towel your wife specifically told you not to use. Back in the 1890s, salsify showed up in nearly every seed catalog in America. Families who'd never seen the ocean made mock oyster soup with it. So what happened to this incredible vegetable? Well, that answer connects to something even stranger coming up. Now here's one that looks like it crash-landed from outer space. Kohlrabi. This thing has a bulbous green stem with leaves shooting out everywhere. Honestly, it looks like a vegetable designed by a committee that couldn't agree on anything, but German immigrants knew exactly what they had. They brought kohlrabi to America in the 1800s, and Midwestern farmhouses couldn't get enough of it. The taste surprises everyone. Imagine a broccoli stem, but sweeter, milder, actually enjoyable raw. And get this, one serving of kohlrabi packs more vitamin C than an orange. Your grandmother was eating immune boosters before anyone called them superfoods. The real kicker? This vegetable grows fast. We're talking 55 days from seed to harvest. That's less time than it takes to pay off a mattress. Here's what drives me crazy, though. The leaves are completely edible, packed with nutrients. And for decades, American families just threw them away, like tossing out the best part of the chicken. The name itself tells you everything. Kohlrabi means cabbage turnip in German, which is funny because it's technically neither one. But speaking of vegetables with identity problems, the next one has an even worse reputation. And it kept entire families alive during America's darkest economic years. Rutabaga. Just the name sounds like something you'd insult someone with. And honestly, that reputation stuck. This vegetable got labeled as poverty food, the thing you ate when you couldn't afford anything else. But here's what nobody talks about. During the Great Depression, rutabagas kept entire families alive. We're talking millions of Americans who survived on this unglamorous root because it cost pennies and lasted for months in a cellar. One single rutabaga can weigh up to 5 pounds. That's enough vegetable to feed a family for a week. Try doing that with your fancy asparagus. The funny thing is, rutabagas aren't even American. They showed up in Scandinavia around the 1600s, a natural love child between cabbage and turnip. The Swedes loved them so much that British people still call rutabagas Swedes. And the health benefits? These things pack glucosinolates, same cancer-fighting compounds you find in broccoli and Brussels sprouts. Except nobody's charging you $8 a pound for them. My grandmother used to mash rutabagas with butter every Thanksgiving, right alongside the potatoes. Most families in New England did the same thing for generations. Then prosperity came back. And suddenly, I'll be honest, I thought these health rings were a scam. I bought one half expecting to send it back. But 3 months later, it hasn't left my finger. And it does way more than I expected. Sleep, activity, heart rate, recovery and stress, all from one little ring. The thing that helped me most? I realized my afternoon coffee was quietly wrecking my sleep. One small change, cutting it off after lunch, and within a week, I was sleeping like a rock. Now here's why I'm telling you this. Right now the ring's 63% off, just $60 if you grab it through the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. There's a 90-day money-back guarantee if it's not for you, but I'm keeping mine. People were too good for the vegetable that saved them. But if you think rutabagas have an image problem, wait until you see the next one. It might be the ugliest thing ever pulled from dirt. Celeriac looks like something a swamp monster would cough up. Seriously, it's a knobby, hairy root ball covered in dirt and tentacle-like roots. The kind of vegetable that makes children cry and grocery store managers hide it in the back corner. But here's the twist. This ugly thing tastes absolutely incredible. Imagine if celery and a potato got married and had a sophisticated French baby. That's celeriac. Earthy, nutty, with this intense celery flavor that punches way above its weight class. French chefs figured this out centuries ago. Remoulade sauce? The original recipe called for celeriac, not some fancy import. This gnarly root vegetable that cost almost nothing. And the storage on these things is ridiculous. 8 months in a cool cellar. That's longer than most relationships last these days. Before refrigerators existed, that kind of staying power meant everything. You could pull one out in March and still have fresh vegetables when nothing else was growing. Here's what really gets me, though. 1 cup has only 42 calories, but it delivers serious phosphorus for your bones. Basically, a health food disguised as a swamp creature. The catch? You need real knife skills. Every bump and crevice hides dirt. Peeling one takes commitment. Speaking of commitment, the next vegetable demands even more patience, and it used to be sweeter than sugar itself. Here's the thing about parsnips. Before sugarcane made everyone's teeth fall out, these pale roots were basically nature's candy bar. People used them to sweeten cakes, breads, even wine. I know. Sounds crazy. But parsnips contain so much natural sugar that colonial bakers relied on them constantly. No expensive imports needed. And here's where it gets really interesting. Frost actually makes them sweeter. Farmers figured this out and left parsnips in frozen ground deliberately. The cold converts starches into sugars. So the ones you dig up in January taste better than the ones from October. Emperor Tiberius of Rome? This guy was so obsessed with parsnips that he demanded shipments from Germany. Believed they could cure all sorts of ailments. Had them imported regularly across the entire empire. 2,000 years later, scientists discovered falcarinol in parsnips. It's a compound now being studied for potential anti-cancer properties. Maybe Tiberius was onto something. But then the Irish potato showed up in the 1800s. Game over. Parsnips went from America's favorite root vegetable to what's that weird white carrot thing in about 50 years flat. Roast them, though? The natural sugars caramelize. Tastes like honey met a carrot and they started dating. Speaking of forgotten relatives, the next vegetable looks like celery went through a rebellious phase. Cardoons look like celery hit the gym, got angry, and decided to become a medieval weapon. Seriously. These things grow up to 6 feet tall with spiny leaves that will absolutely draw blood if you're not careful. But Italian grandmothers? They handled them like nothing. Here's what happened. Italian and Spanish immigrants brought cardoons to America and grew them in backyard gardens well into the 1950s. Every Christmas Eve, braised cardoons showed up at the feast. It was tradition, non-negotiable. Then that generation got older. Their kids wanted convenience. And cardoons? They're the opposite of convenient. First, you have to blanch them while they're still growing. That means wrapping the stalks in paper or burlap for weeks to block sunlight. Skip this step, and the bitterness will make you question your life choices. Then comes the peeling, the soaking, the long braising. Worth it? Absolutely. Cardoons contain cynarin. It's the same compound found in artichokes that does this weird thing to your taste buds. Drink wine after eating cardoons and it tastes sweeter. Scientists still aren't entirely sure why. The tradition survives in some Italian-American families, but barely. Most people under 40 have never even heard of them. Speaking of vegetables that practically vanished, the next one was once valued like gold. Literally. Skirret. Ever heard of it? Probably not. But a Roman emperor once accepted it as payment instead of gold. That's not an exaggeration. Tiberius literally took skirret as tribute from Germanic tribes. This vegetable was that valuable. So what happened? Carrots happened. The orange root we all know today basically staged a hostile takeover of the vegetable kingdom somewhere around the 1600s. Before that, skirret was the star. And honestly, it deserved the hype. Each plant produces a cluster of thin white roots that taste like parsnips decided to get fancy. Sweeter, more aromatic. The kind of flavor that makes you wonder why we ever stopped growing them. Here's the catch, though. Every single root has a woody core running through the middle. You have to remove it before eating. That's extra work. And if history teaches us anything, it's that humans will abandon delicious food the moment something easier comes along. Today, fewer than a dozen American seed companies even carry skirret seeds. 12. In the entire country. The other interesting thing? Skirret contains almost no starch. Back in the day, doctors actually recommended it for people with blood sugar problems. Natural sweetness without the spike. Now here's a vegetable named after a German elf. No, seriously. Good King Henry. Sounds like royalty, right? Nope. Named after a helpful German elf from folklore. Kobold Heinz, if you want to get technical. And here's why this vegetable deserves way more respect than it gets. You plant it once, just once. Then it comes back every single spring for the next 20 years. Free greens, no replanting, no buying seeds. Your grandkids could literally be eating from the same plant you started. The colonial Americans loved this thing so much that it escaped their gardens. It's still growing wild in parts of the northeastern states right now, just out there, doing its thing, waiting for someone to remember it exists. But wait, it gets better. The young shoots, eat them like asparagus. The leaves, cook them like spinach. The seeds, grind them into flour. 3 vegetables in one plant. That's efficiency your grandmother would have appreciated. So why did it disappear? Commercial spinach grows faster. Grocery stores wanted quick turnover. Good King Henry takes its sweet time. And in the food business, time is money. Flavor apparently wasn't. One small warning, though. It's high in oxalic acid. If you've got kidney problems, go easy on it. Speaking of mysterious appearances, the next vegetable looks like someone pulled a burnt stick from a campfire. Scorzonera looks like someone forgot their vegetable in a bonfire. Seriously, jet black skin, all charred looking, like a stick you'd throw away. But crack it open? Pure white flesh inside, almost creamy. Here's where it gets weird. The name comes from the Italian word for serpent. Why? Because people genuinely believed this thing cured snake bites. Medieval doctors prescribed it after venomous encounters. Did it work? Absolutely not. But hey, at least patients got their vegetables. The flavor, though? Nothing like salsify, even though they're cousins. Scorzonera tastes subtly sweet. Some people swear it reminds them of coconut. I'm not entirely convinced, but I also thought coconut water tasted like sweat the first time I tried it. So what do I know? And that black skin isn't just for show. It's packed with antioxidants similar to what you'd find in blackberries and dark grapes. The ugly exterior is actually the healthiest part. Spanish soldiers survived entire sieges on this stuff. Just left it in the ground and dug it up whenever they needed food. Fresh vegetables during a months-long military standoff. Not bad. The problem? It takes 120 days to grow. Modern grocery stores weren't interested in waiting 4 months. Now, the next vegetable has an identity crisis nobody talks about. Not from Jerusalem, not an artichoke. This vegetable is basically living a lie. It's actually a sunflower. Native to North America. The indigenous peoples here were growing it centuries before Europeans showed up and got thoroughly confused about what to call it. The Jerusalem part? Probably a mangled version of girasole, the Italian word for sunflower. Someone heard it wrong, wrote it down, and now we're stuck with the most misleading vegetable name in history. But here's what actually matters. This thing produces up to 20 tons per acre. Potatoes can't even come close. You plant it once, and good luck getting rid of it. Ever. It spreads like that one relative who keeps showing up uninvited to family dinners. Lewis and Clark survived on these during their expedition. Native American tribes handed them over as food. Probably saved some lives out there. The iron content is genuinely impressive. More than most vegetables you'll find at the store. Great for anyone trying to avoid anemia. Now, the nickname. Fartichoke. I wish I was joking. That inulin fiber we talked about with salsify? Jerusalem artichokes are absolutely loaded with it. Your gut bacteria throw a party. Your digestive system becomes Vocal. Speaking of unexpected side effects, the next vegetable thrives where others completely surrender. Regular spinach gives up the moment summer arrives. Just quits. Bolts, turns bitter, basically throws a tantrum in the heat. Malabar spinach? This vine laughs at 90-degree weather, actually thrives in it. And here's the thing, it's not even spinach, not even close. It's a tropical vine from India that someone looked at and said, hey, close enough. The leaves are thick and succulent-like, almost fleshy. Southern gardeners figured this out generations ago. Traditional spinach in Georgia or Alabama. Forget about it. The heat destroys it before you can harvest anything worthwhile. But Malabar just keeps climbing and producing leaves all summer long. Now, the texture. This is where people get divided. It has mucilage. Same stuff that makes okra slimy. Some folks can't stand it. Others don't mind at all. Raw, you barely notice. Cooked, it gets more, let's call it interesting. The vitamin A content is genuinely ridiculous. 1 cup gives you more than your entire daily requirement. Your eyes should be sending thank you cards. But wait, those little berries the plant produces? They're actually edible, and they were used as natural dye, red ink, food coloring, even fabric dye. Our final vegetable pulls double duty in a way that would make efficiency experts weep with joy. Hamburg parsley, the vegetable that looked at efficiency and said, hold my beer. You get parsley leaves growing on top. Normal stuff, but underground? A fat carrot-shaped root that nobody expected. 2 vegetables, 1 plant, 1 tiny garden space. German immigrants in Pennsylvania Dutch country figured this out real quick. Why grow parsley and parsnips when this weird little overachiever does both jobs? Small farms, limited space, every square inch mattered. Now here's where it gets interesting. The root tastes like parsley and celery decided to merge companies. Intense, earthy, kind of aggressive, honestly. Modern taste buds sometimes don't know what to do with it. But your great-grandmother? She threw it in every soup and stew without thinking twice. The leaves work exactly like regular parsley. Chop them up, sprinkle them on. Nothing complicated there. So why did it vanish? Commercial growers got greedy. Turns out selling leaves and roots separately makes more money than selling 1 plant that does both. Efficiency lost to profit margins. Classic. Contains apigenin too. Researchers are studying it for inflammation and anxiety. Your grandparents were basically eating medicine and didn't even know it. These 12 vegetables fed generations. They survived wars, depressions, and harsh winters. Maybe they deserve a spot in your garden too.